Ethiopians are so brave and patriot with regards to keeping the independence and sovereignty of their nation. In fact, they had fought a bloody war even with strong nations of the world. And Ethiopians successfully defended their country from various external aggressors and invaders. And now Ethiopia is one of the oldest independent nations in Africa. And this is a great deal of success for freedom-loving peoples of Ethiopia. But Ethiopians couldn't build democracy at home. Ethiopians have been struggling to establish a democratic system in their country, but they couldn't win the battle over democracy. Ethiopians were successful in overthrowing Haile Selassie regime, but they couldn't install democracy. Ethiopians were also successful in defeating Derg regime, but they couldn't nurture democracy. And now Ethiopians are removing TPLF junta. But we never know what will come next. To speculate about the future of Ethiopian politics, one needs to have the knowledge of history, politics, international relations, diplomacy, conspiracy, and other key areas of politics. Dear viewers, today's ATV special guest is Yohannes Gedamu, who is lecturer of political science at Georgia Gwinnett College. And please do stay with us. Hello there.
Hello, Zalalam.
It's great to see you, Yohannes. Let me refresh your mind by wondering your view, opinion regarding Amhara Mass Media Agency. Is our media entertaining the interest of diaspora community there in the United States of America?
First of all, Zalalam, you are doing a wonderful job, and the Amhara Mass Media Agency is also doing a great job. And my understanding is that not only me, but pretty much much of the Ethiopians or the Ethiopian-born Americans here admire what the Amhara Mass Media Agency is really doing. And especially over the last couple of months, your media's reporting of what was really unfolding back home was not only reaching a huge audience, but was also very much inspiring. So I would like to say congratulations for a wonderful job at the media agency.
It's great to listen such voice from you, Mr. Yohannes. And let us rush to the critical parts of my interview. And recently we have witnessed the narration of so many international media and foreign activists in different parts of the world. They are really campaigning against Ethiopia. Some media organizations are saying like cities of Tigray regional states are being bombarded. Civilians, innocent people in Tigray regional states are targeted by Ethiopian military, by Ethiopian government. The point is, the reverse is true. You see, it is TPLF who attacked innocent people in the town of Maikadra, Tigray regional state. It is TPLF who at least try to bombard cities of Ethiopia, Bahar Dar, Gondar, and Asmara, even in Eritrea. But these media entities and foreign activists in different parts of the world are trying to reverse the truth. Really, they are trying to get something out of nothing. What is their point? What is their interest, Mr. Yohannes?
Zalalam, that's a great question, and this is just it's been a phenomena that has been so worrying, but at the same time a reminder of how much Ethiopians, peace-loving Ethiopians, and the Ethiopian government really must do to overcome such kinds of challenges that be it disinformation campaigns or anti-Ethiopia campaigns in general. And this is just the result of, I believe, two things. The first one is that the enemy, in this case being TPLF, has been very much successful in nurturing very strong friendships, working with different advocacy organizations, lobbyists, international media organizations, even scholars who used to come to Ethiopia and the region to study our history, our politics, they have befriended them, and turned them to be basically their activists. So that's just the strength of TPLF in using such voices to its advantage by somehow appealing to them in different ways that we don't have to really discuss. The second one is our weakness also. When you are governing as a government, or when you are just engaging in civic life as a citizen, you don't think of this other side of issues when it comes to cheating your way to appease a certain activist or scholar or a media agency. You just do your job. But now, at least when it comes to the level of advocacy and diplomacy, the Ethiopian government must be able to upgrade really its activities and what it can offer to the Ethiopian people, so that we are a nation that is effective enough to not only protect ourselves and our people from disinformation campaigns, from hate campaigns, but at the same time to present the truth and make sure that the whole world understands what really is happening in Ethiopia, what the political transition is looking like. And Zelalem, if you just give me a minute, I would just say this: TPLF's success is not new. Back in 1991, when they came to political power in Ethiopia, they were effective in selling this idea that the Derg regime was these bad guys, this awful regime, this socialist military regime. And the TPLF, however, was the savior of the country. That was the kind of messages they were able to sell successfully. In fact, the Derg was not something that we can protect of in terms of what they did and all that, but that image that they created for themselves was still relevant when it comes to protecting them. However, they remain, as you know, the liberation front, and they led a country of 110 or so million people while they are a liberation front, which is just unbelievable. I have never seen anything like that. But still, they were able to be successful in this disinformation campaign. So these are a couple of issues that we have to take into consideration when it comes to what we need to do for the future. We do have regional challengers. We do have countries that threaten our security. Of course, in our region, near the Eastern African region, in the northeast, you have Egypt, that has been somehow successful in cultivating access with different rebellions that were fighting against Ethiopia's successive central governments. And when you look at the Egyptian campaign and the Egyptian media strategy of late, especially in November, and the issues that they were propagating, it shows that they want to use our internal challenges and successfully exploit them to basically show to the world that everything in Ethiopia is not going well, and it is because the regime is anti-democratic, because the regime is oppressive, to taint what's been really an inspiring transition. Of course, there are some challenges, but it's been a very inspiring transition, a transition that brought Ethiopians together, a transition that led to the fall of EPRDF, which is a coalition, but that was not really a coalition, given that it was just serving the interest of one of its political parties.
Yeah, really, so, TPLF was the dominant party in the coalition.
Absolutely, absolutely. Not only it dominated the political proceedings within EPRDF, but it was successful in co-opting all the leaders of the other political parties that were part of the EPRDF. So as long as we don't have, we continue to have these internal domestic challenges, this status, in the neighborhood or outside of the, our region, may use it to their advantage. So, of course, what we need to do is make sure that we don't have these domestic issues. And luckily, with the demise of TPLF now, chances that peace and stability in Ethiopia could prevail.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Johannes. I will come to these questions bit by bit later in my show. And I do think that we are having a very impressive interview, and I think that is to the interest of our audience. Let me rush to my next question. And with the patriotic children of Ethiopia, TPLF is now being defeated. Here I wanna quote the saying of one military official, Ethiopian military official, who said that the war against TPLF is over, and what we left is the fighting. And here it signifies the fact that TPLF is meaningfully defeated. So my question is, what is the reaction of Ethiopian diaspora in the United States on the days of TPLF, and what's your reaction here?
If I can explain it just in one word, it is relief. You have here a political party that I refer to as a liberation front, because it's a liberation front, and this liberation front was in charge of a country of over 110 million people. Its record, its human rights record was, the worst in the world. It has tortured Ethiopians, including Tigrayans. It has designated a single ethnic group, of course I am referring to the Amhara, as an enemy within its manifesto when they first were established.
Yeah, without any shame and disgrace.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that, disinformation, that hate campaign against, a historical ally of Tigrayans, people that are much more like the Tigrayans themselves, whether it is culture, the food, religion, geographical proximity, you name it. Amharas and Tigrayans, regardless of the politics, right? They are pretty much like one people speaking two different languages.
Exactly.
They are highly intermarried. But what TPLF did was that just because it will serve its interest in elongating its political power, they had to designate one, they had to imagine an enemy, as an ethno-nationalist would do. When you are an ethno-nationalist, you just have to imagine an enemy and use that imagined enemy to rally your support, to serve you as a principle to organize your support. And they did so successfully. And guess what? Not only that they did it to their advantage, but that campaign against the Amhara also was accepted somehow by their proxies. And because of that, the Amhara, who happened to live all over Ethiopia, were subject to displacement and evictions and torture. And that is not partly, but I would say fully, the problem that was created by the TPLF. So my point is that Ethiopians in the diaspora definitely share the feeling that the feeling of somehow, euphoric feeling that we have back in Ethiopia as well. I think this is a dawn of a new era in Ethiopia. And I am more than happy to witness that, definitely, Zelalem.
What did the days of TPLF mean to Ethiopia's journey of peace, stability, and democracy? What is its significance?
I can just say this. TPLF devised a very divisive federal arrangement that served its interests. In doing so, it did not bring Ethiopians together. It did not strengthen our national unity. But because of TPLF and what it is administrative, what I would say is, it's the challenge that they created. Our national unity has been weakened.
Yeah.
So what we have been witnessing over the last couple of years with the leadership of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is that he's being, raising the banner of national unity again. He's now talking about Ethiopians standing together. And he's been pretty successful in bringing so many Ethiopians together, which is something that we never had. Something that we really lacked back in the last 27, 28 years before he came to political power. So my point is that now that TPLF is gone, right? Now that TPLF is no longer a legitimate political force in Ethiopia, Ethiopians can now sit around the table and start important political dialogues that could lead to reconciliation, that could lead to basically identifying our national agendas. Because what we had in the past 27, 28 years, years while TPLF was in power, was that everybody was talking about its group grievances and group-based agendas, not really a unifying national agenda. But now this challenge posed by TPLF is no longer relevant. I think the Prosperity Party, which is very, very close to a one party, basically a national unified party, even though, ethnic regions can still caucus along ethnic lines, which is somehow unavoidable. Yeah. It is very much a national unified political party. And I think they can now negotiate. They can now discuss what national agendas that they want to promote, so that to make the federal structure a more effective one, to bring, instead of considering one or two or three or four ethnic regions like the Benishangul Gumuz or Gambela, so-called developing regions, how can we actually use the a better bureaucratic capacity in the Amhara region or Oromia region or the South to actually help these regions? How to work on raising the national standard when it comes to economic development, education, health, infrastructure development. I think what I'm trying to say is that we can actually focus more on development besides what I said also on building our national unity. So the hope for Ethiopians in the post-TPLF era is, I think, limitless. My hope is also that the government is also will be successful in regaining the trust of Tigrayan Ethiopians, so that they can be part of this, brilliant journey that awaits the country at large.
Yeah. Let's talk about history and let us relate that to the current Ethiopian political reality. In history, Ethiopians were successful in ousting different dictatorial regimes in different times, but Ethiopians were unable to install a democratic system in their country. What is the cancer of democracy in Ethiopia? You might tell me the internal and external factors here, Mr. Johannes.
I would just focus on one important aspect when it comes to what is really impeding our democratic development. And in business they say it's location, right? And in politics it is about institutions. And when we talk about institutions, it's not only talking about what successful, very important institutions in different sectors can do to our democratic development. But it starts with understanding what government is all about. What is the purpose of our government? What is the purpose of the Ethiopian government? And first of all, it is to be able to protect the safety of our citizens, from domestic threats or foreign threats. Ethiopia's successive governments have been, successful in repelling threats coming from outside, but they have always faced internal threats as well. So if the purpose of the government is to protect its citizens and to keep us safe, the most important institutions will be, within the security framework. Once you have peace, once you have lasting peace, once you have stability, once you have institutions that can safeguard the safety of citizens, then you can build other successful institutions as well. And the second important aspect with regards to institutions is that when we think about government itself, we talk about three branches of government, right? So the branch that legislates laws, the branch that executes the laws, and the branch that interprets the laws. In historical Ethiopia or in contemporary times, I'm sorry to say that we really don't have three branches of government functioning the way they are supposed to function. What we always have is the executive branch, which is the strongest, which is the one, that writes the laws and send it to parliament so that it can approve it for it. So that, which is rubber stamping parliament, And the courts are highly manipulated, and they have never been independent. Do I see any changes toward this, making these institutions very effective? I do see, yes, there are some promise out there, but we are a long way, away from where we need to be. And also the way our leaders interact, the way our leaders behave, the way our leaders talk about corruption, the way our leaders talk about service, also is something that is not different from what institutions are all about. Because when we talk about institutions, it's not just about these organizations, but it's about also what our leaders also project, right? Because if you have heard, I have heard that in Addis Ababa, those traffic police officers that were used to receive bribes are no longer doing that after the political transition. And that is very, very inspiring. It's because of what the Prime Minister was saying about corruption and how bad theft is. So I think institutions are very, very important. And if we have them, if we really genuinely care about building them, our democratic promise is still out there, and one day we will be a democratic state.
Yeah, I think the state of the Horn of Africa is very crucial towards stability and democracy in Ethiopia. How do you evaluate the state of the Horn of Africa today, and what is the role of Ethiopia in the region?
Thank you, Zalan. That's an excellent question. Ethiopia is the largest country in the Horn of Africa, at least in terms of demography, but also economically. I think it's been a few years since Ethiopia's GDP basically exceeded even that of Kenya's. So we are also the largest economy. No surprise. I mean, we should have been the largest economy long ago. We have the largest military in the region. But also, again, we are located at the heart of East Africa. And our role in contributing towards peace and security of the region is second to none. Our forces are in the middle of the South Sudan in Abyei region. They were successfully able to de-escalate tensions between South Sudan and the Sudan. Our troops, about 4,000, if I am not mistaken, are part of the AMISOM, the peacekeeping mission, the African Union's peacekeeping mission in Somalia. But just look at what our rapprochement with Eritrea did to the region at large. And that's just unbelievable, because the moment, weeks after Ethiopia and Eritrea, ended that no war, no peace scenario, Djibouti and Eritrea were also able to start talks, even though they had their own issues because of a territorial dispute that is still not solved, but they are now discussing. They have now somehow showing interest to talk about it. Somalia has been, since Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed came to political power, has been really a very important ally. They no longer, they are no longer suspicious of what we are doing. They started to believe that, Ethiopia is interested to play a very important role in Somalia, as opposed to the TPLF-led EPRDF in the past that was meddling in Somalia. And Somalis were very much tired of that. Now they consider us a genuine partner. The fact that Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia have been also doing when it comes to integrating, working towards economic integration has been also very much successful. And of course, this is something that we have been working as a country with the Djibouti effectively. Even, the Haile Mariam Desalegn regime was also effective on that one. And also with Kenya recently to have a one-stop shop diplomatic corridor. And that sort of development is very much important, not only to the region, but also to basically connect different regions in Africa. So I think there are very, very important developments moving on, but we have to be able to focus on the Horn of African countries as a country. I know that it is easy to talk about it. The government has also been saying that their most important focus is the Horn of Africa. That's their diplomatic priority. I understand that, and I think that's excellent. But we have to really, really work harder to get and keep the trust of all our neighborly countries, and that also includes the Sudan, which we have had, somehow a love-hate relationship in the past, but now changing it to be a very constructive one. I think our current administration is handling that really in a good way, and I hope that the Horn of Africa region continues to experience that. By the way, I am not saying also there are no challenges. There are some challenges, for example, between, Sudan and South Sudan, the issue is not solved, right? The recent problem that I believe Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed was successfully tried to reconcile between Somalia and Kenya was also an issue. But overall, what the international media tries to call a volatile Horn of Africa, I don't think is no longer volatile.
Yeah. How you view the prospect of Ethio-Eritrea relation?
That is a relationship that is, I believe, to be the most important relations that we will have for two obvious reasons. One, Eritreans and Ethiopians have this intertwined destiny, as many people like to call, which I concur with. We are one people in two different countries. So the people-to-people relations are, even when we were at war, Ethiopians and Eritreans here in the diaspora, I have seen them intermarry, right? This is just what these people are all about. So I think this people-to-people relationship that's been very much promising has been, hampered by what TPLF was doing, and because of the a political atmosphere that was created in the northern part of Ethiopia because of TPLF's activities and actions that showed that it was presenting a threat to Ethiopia's internal stability, but also, even though it is a political entity within Ethiopia, it's an Ethiopian political entity, but also that is threatening the Eritrean state somehow. So that uncertainty definitely created by TPLF, I think, was a major reason for a slow development of our growing relations. But I think that it is highly likely, at least I hope, that our people-to-people relations are going to grow. And of course, the flights and all that have not been discontinued, but I think there is a chance that it will. We will also have open borders. Even now, we have an open border between Eritrea and the Amhara region, for that matter. So that will be also something to look at. But also economic relations, with through the Afar corridor. I think the ports in Eritrea will be a huge boost to our Ethiopia's economy, but at the same time will be creating tens of thousands of jobs for Eritreans, and will be also a greater opportunity for the Eritrean economy. So there's a lot to do in that regard. But I think what we need is, again, just like what we were saying when we talked about our prospectus towards democracy, we really need to build institutions. We need to make sure that we are not doing this because we just need to do that, but we just want to make sure that there is good level of trust between these two countries. And what I have been inspired in the past is that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and President Isaias Afwerki have been meeting numerous times, even throughout this pandemic plagued last 7-8 months. They have been meeting, and that is really a good example to show that the trust between these countries' leaders and these two nations is really growing. And if we help that with additional reinforcements with regards to building stronger institutions that study and recommend different ways to this growing relationship, I think that will be very much helpful, Zalalam.
Yeah, let me bring you to the issue of democracy in Ethiopia. We have evaluated the domestic, the regional and international issues. And what is your speculation regarding the possibility of democracy in Ethiopia?
I do think that if there is something that I cannot give up on, is my hope for a democratic Ethiopia, just to see a democratic Ethiopia whereby all of its citizens are able to coexist in harmony, whereby all its citizens are able to get the protection that they deserve, respect that they deserve when it comes to their human rights, their civil rights, their civil liberties. So democracy is something that we should not negotiate. Of course, we may talk about we need our security, we need our peace, we need to, we need our stability, and that is very important, as I said, right? That is just what the government should focus right now. And if there are certain issues, challenges that the government is facing with regards to democracy, I could forgive them for now, given that we have been undergoing a very challenging transition, no matter how much inspiring that is. But I think they have to and they need to work towards that. And what is also very important is that the way our federal structure is constructed can have its own impact in our democratic development. Where power is concentrated could have its own impact in democratic development. I do have research that I worked with a colleague, and for example, if so much political power is concentrated in the executive branch, it is highly likely that democracy could be in jeopardy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But if political power is distributed, if there is a good check and balance, prevailing within the three branches of government, if you have a vibrant media sphere, that is very much indicative of that democratic development. Even throughout regions, you have these 9 federal regional states and 2 city administrations, right, in Ethiopia. So when you look at the Tigray region, was basically a North Korea of Ethiopia. We don't know what was really going on. So we just don't know at what scale human rights, of Ethiopians in Tigray was really, respected. What was really going on, we really don't know. And you just go back to Abdi Ile's Somali region, and what was going on over there is just unbelievably sad. And you have the Benishangul Gumuz region, which is yet a hotbed of violence and killing and massacre, especially against the Amhara, of course, as we know, and the Agao and the Shinasha and all that recently. So when you look at that, I mean, the Amhara region happened to be the only democratic region. When you look at the members of the federation at large, because we have recognized the rights of different ethnic groups who have special zonal administrations, whether it's the Oromo or others, while all other regions were not able to do that. So my point is that how a federal government is constructed or structured, how power is distributed across different levels of government, but also within a certain government, meaning the 3 branches of government at the federal level or all these governments at the regional level. That is really indicative of our democratic development. I think we have a good chance, but we need to also continue to ask good questions, especially you guys, the journalists, can do a great job on that.
We'll try. So democracy is the issue of existence for Ethiopia. Democracy is not the issue of luxury or a kind of secondary thing for Ethiopia, but it is the issue of existence. One last question for you, Mr. Johannes. In the process of realizing democracy in Ethiopia, many agree that this is the last opportunity that Ethiopians have left with to democratize their nation. So what do you advise for stakeholders of democracy in democratizing Ethiopia? What is your idea here?
I think they need to embrace the moment, use this opportunity that we have. I think, I'm sorry to say this, probably this is our last opportunity. Somehow, we cannot expect to any supernatural whatever force to save this country if this transition goes in tatters. I think there is a commitment at the central government, at the federal government level, at the current administration towards democracy. But whether it is within the incumbent Prosperity Party or within the opposition, political actors, especially individual political actors, must be able to say that, we are able to talk about anything. We can discuss anything. We can actually be part of this roundtable discussion on any topic. We are ready to have a national agenda. Zelalem, what we have been witnessing, unfortunately, is also political actors, whether within the incumbent political party or even the opposition, they say this is not up for discussion, or this topic is not up for discussion. We cannot negotiate on this one. We cannot negotiate on that one. Of course, it is easy to say that, not only in Ethiopia. I mean, in elsewhere, including the United States. I mean, people say, "Okay, we can negotiate this, right?" But you know what? At the end of the day, they will negotiate on that because that is, democracy. You can't do anything in the darkness that democracy, that made overshadow democratic prospects. I think what is also key is leadership. And I think when it comes to leadership, we do have that, at least when it comes to the current administration, but also I think opening the political field even further to ensure that Ethiopians who can contribute to this democratization process should be invited, especially those with greater depth of experience. I was just thinking about this the other day. I'm talking about it the other day with a colleague of mine, and what that was, when Ethiopia needed them the most, these unlawfully retired generals came and contributed, and they won this recent law enforcement operation. And I think it's also important that the Ethiopian government invites all Ethiopians in different, who can contribute in the different fields, in different sectors, to realize that agenda. And I think it will be possible for us to see a democratic Ethiopia sooner or later, but it should happen soon, Zalala.
Yeah. Yohannes Gedamu, lecturer of political science at Georgia Gwinnett College. Thank you for your time indeed. Yohannes Gedamu, you are one of the prominent Ethiopian diaspora who is trying to secure the interest of Ethiopia